I keep my prices as fair as I can afford.
So, picture this, right? It's 2009. In the fast landscape of video game releases, there are titles dropping left and right that will all go down in history as some of the best titles ever created. I'm talking Dragon Age Origins, Demon's Souls, Left 4 Dead 2, Uncharted 2, and many more. Wow. Next to these games, there were also more ambitious titles. Sometimes from smaller developers, sometimes simply with a smaller budget that throughout the years will get the title of cult classic. Think of games like Brutal Legend, The Saboteur, Wheelman, and last but not least, Dragon's Dogma. The game with more animal names in the title than a furry convention. Even cult classics from time to time get a sequel, this game included. And wow, was that a mistake!
I mean, it's pretty stupid that you can't just fucking save multiple versions of the game, right? I mean, why not?
Oh man, where to start? Let's address the elephant in the room first, or actually the elephants. Performance issues, save slots, and microtransactions. Does the performance suck? Yes, the performance is absolute dog shit. They knew that the game was not in a playable state, but they pushed the release anyways, which sucks. Is it true that there's only one save slot? Yes. Words can't describe how brain dead this is. What if my save file gets corrupted? What if I run into a glitch and have to reload a previous save file to fix it? It's just, I don't know. Last but not least, microtransactions. Are they present? Yes. Are they uncalled for?
Yep.
Do they have a place in the single player game?
Nope.
Did Capcom do everything in their power to hide them from us before the release date?
Yep.
At the very least, all of the in-game currency is quite easy to obtain, so you don't need to buy all of this stuff. And even now, already modders have taken it upon themselves to fix this stuff, but nonetheless, it's just... With all of that out of the way, what about the game itself? Is it good? Truth be told, the game is just in a very weird place. The foundation for a good game is definitely here, it's just that none of it feels very fleshed out or implemented well. Let me explain. All of the quests and story missions will boil down to go somewhere, kill something, go back for reward. It's like Skyrim, but with better combat. The story has never made sense to me, but TLDR, from what I gathered, you are Arisen. Arisen kills dragon, Arisen then kills god, who then makes a new dragon, and the cycle starts anew. Does it make sense? No. Is it enjoyable? No. You will be treated to a cutscene every few hours or so, but other than that, don't expect any depth from the story. They attempted to make some of the quests at least more interesting than the first game by giving them a bigger setup, but it all feels like a charade.
It's a lie!
Deliver a letter, find an item for me, gather ingredients for me, find my missing son, they're all fetch quests. So, does the story and side content kinda suck? Well, yes, but if you will like this game or not will not depend on the story. It will very heavily depend on what I'm about to describe next. You have to realize, in this game you have to create your own adventure. If you like RPGs, like The Witcher, Mass Effect, Fallout, this game will most likely disappoint you. Why? Because as mentioned previously, the quests are all just fetch quests with one single purpose, giving you a reason to actually go out into the world. Do not expect dialogue heavy quests with plot twists and different ways to solve things. However, if you are at peace with this and you like discovering things on your own, you will be rewarded with absolute fucking chaos. You can essentially grab onto every enemy you come across and just see what happens. You can wait for enemies and ambush them by throwing rocks their way, or get ambushed yourself by a centaur, only to, halfway through the fight, get ambushed by goblins as well, but then the centaur hits one of the goblins, turning it into a 1v1v1 free-for-all. You can be fighting a cyclops, and as you jump on his back to try and behead him, he stumbles off of a cliff, and while you are hanging on, fearing for dear life, a bunch of lizards will jump you out of nowhere trying to unalive you. Or you'll be trying to beat a griffin, only for it to realize it can just yeet itself into the air and take off halfway across the map with you still stuck on its back. Or you'll be struggling with a centaur, only for a bunch of random soldiers on patrol to help you out. You'll be shopping for supplies, only to suddenly hear screams, realizing that a bloody dragon has landed in the middle of the city square, and shit like this will happen constantly. The vocations are also pretty sweet. I especially like the Mystic Spearhead, Rogue, and Trickster ones, mostly because a lot of other games with roguelike or supporting characters tend to mess them up completely with low health, shitty damage output, and the fact that your companions are too stupid to survive on their own. But in this game, that's thankfully not the case, which automatically brings me to prawns.
What the fuck?
Pawns. Characters whose sole purpose in life is to serve you and talk your ears off 24/7 with useless, repetitive dialogue. Even though pawns are supposedly lifeless and dumb, their AI is actually pretty smart. They're quite intuitive with their moveset and intelligence. Most of the time. I swear they're normally not like this. By learning from your playstyle or discovering hidden paths on their own, and they'll often act as a guide for quest locations and treasures.
I know the way. Follow me.
How often have you played games where your party members felt more so like a burden than actually helpful? This game does not have that problem. Your pawns can hold their own very well, and it's actually quite remarkable. They know when to heal themselves and allies, and they'll even retreat in battle to get healed. They can also catch you if you get thrown into the air to ensure you won't die from fall damage. Pawns are not your companions in a traditional sense. They won't share life stories or have personal quests, but you will use the poor fuckers to see if cliffs are high enough to take fall damage from. But yeah, that's what you'll like most about this game. Fighting and pawns. I'd even go as far as to say these are the only things to really like about the game. Calling it an RPG is just too far-fetched to me. Like, as what am I gonna roleplay? A mute incel?
Mayhap you will visit me again someday.
The game constantly talks about how your pawns are these empty-minded vessels who exist only to serve you, but shit, at least they talk and have some sort of personality, unlike the main character.
Till then. Take care.
I'm serious though, I truly do not know what different reason you might have to buy this game. You might say exploration, but most of it is just sprinting into one direction for minutes on end, only to realize that the place you have to go is cut off by an unclimbable mountain, or bouts of water you cannot cross, making you have to backtrack for once again multiple minutes on end. There's also no way to avoid this, as the map is hidden until you've visited a place at least once. The same goes for the cities. I've heard people say the game feels alive, like yeah, sure, compared to a cemetery, it's alive, I guess, but I truly do not know how copy and pasting the same armorer, herbalist and bartender with sincerely no relevant dialogue would make a world feel alive, or how I can steal the food and gold from every NPC's home with them standing right next to me without them even making a remark about it. There are attempts at romance here and there, but this stuff just feels out of place with a main character that can't speak or show the most basic human emotions. There's also just a limited amount of wolves, goblins and lizards I can fight before I start to think, alright, is there anything else on offer? The enemy variety in general isn't much to brag home about. Most of the monsters you'll fight we've already seen in the first game, like Cyclops, Drakes and Chimeras, so you really have to wonder if the handful of new monsters, who I won't show to avoid spoilers, are really worth it for you. Credit has to be given where it's due though. The character creation is absolutely amazing. One of the best, if not the best I have ever seen. Jokes aside about the endless bouts of walking, the game is beautiful to look at, and it also forces you to actually prepare yourself properly. If you're out in the wilderness without a fairy stone to teleport you back to civilization or camping supplies to heal yourself with, then you kinda deserve the fact that you have to spend all that time walking back or that you're dying in every fight. At the end of the day, it's not a classic RPG in which you make decisions, bond with companions and see the world change based on your actions. No, it's an action adventure that consists of 90% fighting and the other 10% of gathering materials and resources. And that's cool, but it's not gonna be for everybody. You can tell there's heart in the game. It's the little things, like how your character and your pawns high five after tough fights, how you can throw logs on the fire when you're camping, or how pawns make at least an attempt at talking about character development.
Have you always pursued your current vocation in your service to the Arisen?
No, I was an archer for a time.
The game really tries to show you that there's passion in this project, but it's just very hard to find. Last but not least, there are just so many quality of life improvements they could and should have made but chose not to. Like, why can't I check a chest or an inventory before actually looting it? Like so, I'm constantly getting over encumbered with items I do not want. Why is there no hotbar, ensuring that we constantly have to pause the game and select items we want to use during combat? Why is the only way to fast travel via a wagon? We can literally ride griffins when we fight them. Why not allow us to buy horses or tame griffins so that we can fly around on them? Why can't we hide our helmets? You've got one of the most in-depth character creators I've ever seen. Do you really think people don't want to see their own characters? All of this stuff just gives me the feeling like I'm playing some janky game from 2011, which is, coming to think of it, a good way to describe Dragon's Dogma 2. It feels like it's stuck in the past. As if this game should have just released 2, maybe 3 years after Dragon's Dogma 1, after which people would have complained that it has barely changed compared to Dragon's Dogma 1, only to end up for people calling it Dragon's Dogma 1.5 instead of Dragon's Dogma 2. I swear most of the budget went into cooking animations and creating the most impractical female outfits you could think of. For what it's worth, I think that $70 for a game that you need a NASA space computer for to run properly, janky gameplay, missing features, and incredibly lazy storytelling and mission design is just not worth it. Like, there's a lot of fun to be found here, and you can tell that beneath the layer of clunkiness, there's a lot of it. Like, I liked it, but looking at the price and all of the negatives, it was not worth it. Thanks for watching, and I don't know, I'll see all of you back on Skyrim or Dragon Age or whatever.